All right, for the next block that we are going to be working on for the recess quilt, it is the bullseye quilt. And so this is done in a very similar process as the log cabin or courthouse steps, except you're going to be having a center square and then work around it. So basically you want 3 fabrics. They are not going to have any rules as far as like color, light, dark, whatever. You just need enough contrast between the 3 fabrics so that it designates like the center, this next ring, and the outer ring. You can have as many rings as you want, so you can use more fabric if you choose, and you can choose to do scrappy as well. So just making sure that if you do, scrappy pieces, that they all kind of read the same tone. So the idea is, like maybe I have a red center and then I have a blue ring around it. So all my blues need to have kind of the same tone. So they represent each other or reflect each other in the same. So what we're going to start with is I'm choosing to do red as my center. And you can choose anything you want. This can be a triangle shape, this can be a square, this can be a rectangle. So you just kind of have some fun with this. Depending on what your final size of block is going to be, you can decide to make this larger or smaller. So I'm gonna go with kind of a square, maybe actually I'm gonna do a rectangle. So I'm going to cut it a little bit thinner as well. So as you can see, I did not use a ruler. They are not perfectly straight. And then what I'm going to do is decide what is going to be my next ring around. So I'm going to choose this. Now with the rings, they don't all have to equal the same thickness either. So I can sew this one on, and then my next one, I'm just going to cut a length because I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I want it to be thinner. So I'm going to use this one for my next one, and then I'll come back and either cut some more or figure out. So first thing I'm going to do is take my center block, and then I am going to right sides together and stitch those together before moving on to the next step. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and sew these 2 center pieces together. Then we're going to open it up, and if you want to, you can press this open. So I've got this wood press, and I'm going to just give it a press really quick. And then my second piece, I cut at a thinner, so I didn't want it to be super equal. So I cut it thinner, and I am going to just go around the center piece. When I get to the end, I can open it up and then use my wood presser again. Or I can take it to the iron if I want as well. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just cut with my scissors straight off that edge. And I've got some strings coming off. So now I am going to, so I've sewn the first edge, sewn the second, and I need to move to this opposite side. This isn't quite long enough, but I can trim that down. So I think I'm going to do that anyways. And then, so I'm going to place that right sides together. My fabric does not have a right or a wrong side. So, but if yours does, please make note of that. So then I'm going to open this up and press this. Now my piece is longer, so what I'm going to do is just trim this by hand. Let's see what we can do here. It's not straight. All right, so my last side for that edge needs to be sewn on. Okay, this piece I don't have pre-cut, so I'm just going to stitch it down, and then I can trim it after I'm done. Okay, I've sewn my last strip on, and I'm going to just trim it off with my scissors. And then I can take this to the ironing board and give this a good press, or just use my little wood presser foot. Okay, now what I'm going to do is work on the last border. So I'm going to just take my strip and line it up properly along the edge, and I'm going to sew it. And then I'm going to trim it with my scissors. And this is following the same process as before. As you can see, it's kind of like the log cabin, but we're not doing light, light, dark, dark, or the courthouse steps where you're doing the top, bottom, side, side. We're still moving around in a center, process, but we are keeping each of our rings the same color. So I've got this little thin blue strip, and I'm going to sew that one on next. Again, if you need to pin it, go right ahead, but this is all about kind of improv and letting the rules go, not worrying about perfection. All right, I'm going to trim this off again and press this out. Just working from the center around. And then I think maybe I want to do a thinner strip on this side. And trim that. Again, press it out, use your wood stick or the ironing board. And then my last one, I'm going to make kind of the fatter one again, or the wider strip. So line up those outside at that seam edge. All right, so now that we have all of our rings sewn on, we can decide if we are done at this size or if we need to add another ring around. Just really depends on what size of block you need. So look at the pattern, but really it's all about playing with different thicknesses, maybe different angles, not worrying about the quilt police or all the rules, just having fun. And at the end of the quilt, we will be putting the blocks together. So right now I could finish this right now as it is, or I could add another ring to it if I wanted. So that is how you make the Improv Bullseye quilt block.